instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Flagstick Podcast with Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod. Presented this week again by Adidas. Adidas introduces the Ultimate 365 Tour Heat Apparel and ZG23 Vent Footwear to help golfers handle the heat this season. The collection features a mix of silhouettes for men and women, made with heat-ready and no-show technology to keep golfers cool and dry so they can perform at their very best. Both the ZG23 Vent and Ultimate 365 Tour Apparel are available on adidas.ca, the Adidas app, and, of course, retailers worldwide. Quickly, just as we do, jump off the... Don't jump again.
Where are you jumping
God,
to?
I don't know. It's like a habit now. Make sure you're following us across all social media networks, Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. And as always, we encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like us, click the notification bell, make sure you never miss a single episode. And because stuff happens on the YouTube channel that doesn't happen anywhere else. This much I can tell you is true.
You got it.
Scott McLeod.
Yeah. What's going
on? We're back. Back-to-back weeks.
Crazy.
I know, it's insane.
Well, hopefully we keep that consistent throughout the fall.
Yes, definitely.
I might have travel one week coming up, but we'll get to that. I'll talk to you about that later.
More travel for Scott McLeod. I just don't travel anymore. I don't know. I don't even know where I don't travel anywhere. I think Smuggler's Glen's the furthest I've traveled away.
Hey, speaking of which,
the match, the match is happening next Tuesday at Smuggler's Glen at noon.
When we're thinking
high noon
with teenagers that we have to beat teenagers. So.
Yeah, but see, the problem is the teenagers aren't 11 and 12 years old anymore.
No, they're not. They're fine players in their own right.
Exactly.
So I don't feel bad if we have to take them down, 9 and 8.
I already told my son Brandon and I'm sure he's relayed it to his friend Shane, who we're matching up against there, that it's probably not going to go past 16.
Nice. I like it.
That's sort of what I predicted.
Is this how Shane and I are going to start our coaching relationship?
Exactly. You're gonna knock him down a peg, make him realize who the alpha male is in the coaching group, and I'm going to prove once and for all to my son Brandon that despite the fact that he hits it about 40 yards past me now, he still can't beat me.
There you go. I love it. Looking forward to that. That'll be a fun game next week.
It should be. Yeah.
We'll have a recap on the podcast.
Oh, definitely. Well, it depends.
We better win.
If we lose, it'll be a really short recap.
Yeah. So if you hear nothing about it next week, you know what happened.
Yeah. You know that we got waxed badly.
What's going on in the show today, Jeff?
Well, we got on the front nine. We're obviously going to get caught up on a little bit of the Canadian golf news, including the conclusion of the Play Junior Golf Tour, the race to the Flagstick Cup, the CPKC Women's Open. We're going to talk about that. Plus, we're going to take a trip back out to the Lesson Tee this week with Kevin and Jake Hain. And on the back nine, we're going to get into the PGA Tour Championship, the 30. We'll call it the 30. We're going to get into chat about that, and a little game of over/under. We like the games. We like games on the Flagstick podcast. So a little something special in the back nine just to wrap it all up. But obviously, before you get to the back, you got to play the front. And front nine is presented by Metcalf Golf Club, a natural setting, a pleasant challenge. Golf season is more than well underway, but you can still save. Get those game packs. Those are the big thing. Get those game packs and be ready to hit the first tee. Visit metcalfgolf.com to shop for those now. All right.
We should remind people we're really only 8 weeks into summer.
I know, isn't it crazy?
Everybody sort of I'm hitting the microphone here. I'm too excited. Everybody sort of thinks that obviously as kids are going back to school, it's the end of summer.
No.
We got lots of time, folks. There's
tons of golf left to play. There's probably a good 3 months plus left in the golf season. So that's a long time when you think about it.
But get on it before it's gone, before you're crying in your snow shovel.
Maybe we won't get any snow this winter at all. We'll just golf right through it all.
Oh, we can only hope. We can only hope.
Who knows? The way the weather's been.
Yes, who knows?
As
That's
we're
for sure.
recording this week, that it's Thursday, so that means it's probably going to get a thunderstorm or a tornado. That's normal. That's normal Thursday
Let's play
anymore.
9 later, so hopefully it's not during a tornado.
Well, I hope it doesn't. I hope
see.
it doesn't as
Just
well.
for my sake. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Exactly. So let's start things off on the front nine with and wrap up the Flagstick.com PGA of Ottawa Tour Zone Championship, which was hosted at Greensmere this year.
Yeah, it was.
Which is awesome.
Yep.
Great to see a course like Greensmere hosting such a big event, a prestigious event, I might add. And with some excitement to wrap that all up this year too, with Roger Beale dropping an eagle, eagle on the last hole.
20 years after he won the zone championship, he came back to win another before he went off to Barbados and on to fame, doing all sorts of different things for Barbados as far as playing in a World Golf Championship and all sorts of different things. But made an eagle on the last hole. He'd been back and forth with Lee Curry for those 36 holes, and then he canned a long one to win. So pretty excited. As if anybody's seen the trophy shots up on flagstick.com, you'll see he was pretty excited about that. And all the membership at Arita View where he is now, certainly excited to see that too, to recapture that title. And you always like to prove you're still a good player, right?
And he is, no question about it. And they love him over there at Rito View. He's very active as a golf pro over there. So great for Roger Beale. Excited to see him do that.
And Graham Gunn picked up another senior title.
Yep.
Shocking. I think that's 4 in a row for this one. And I think that's 1,000,005 overall.
$1 million.
So unfortunately, it was a little smaller field. A lot of guys are away, different people, off to other events and things like that. So, but otherwise everybody had a great time. And then the fall championship is up next. So, looking forward to that. And then hopefully you have some details as far as any other event beyond that. So we'll see.
Like the Ping Challenge Cup. You
got it.
We'll see. There could be some really interesting stuff happen with that event this year. We never know.
Maybe.
We never know. The Play Junior Golf Tour.
This was fun.
I'm sure Chris Veldkamp, the founder and organizer of the Play Junior Golf Tour, is kind of excited in some respects to see the end of the season. It's a very long, grueling task of running a tour like this, especially as often as the events take place over the summer. But it all came to fruition at the Kevin Dickey Tour Championship on the Play Junior Golf Tour at Cataraqui Golf and Country Club down in Kingston, down in your neck of the woods there. And you were there. You were there.
I was there all day. And you know what? First off, should say how welcoming Cataraqui was.
Now you mentioned that.
Yeah, you know what? A week before, as I said, Ian Reston, who's the head professional, was basically very concerned about making sure the golf course was in great shape, and it was going to be a good setup. The kids would feel welcome, and right from the barbecue meal, and with the they had a freezer outside with all ice cream in there for all the kids and stuff like that. I mean, they did their best to make it a great championship and a great finish, and I heard nothing but positive comments from the kids, from the parents, how fortunate they were to be there. It was just first class all the way. And obviously I'll make mention of Kevin in here. The tournament is named after longtime golf pro who, taught it at Cataraqui and really focused on junior programs. Unfortunately passed away a few years ago now, and he would have been proud to see it. And I mentioned that to a few people, just the smiles on the faces, the kids. It's always neat for me. I love going out. I got to meet more parents. I got to meet more kids. I got to chat with a few other kids that I talked to early in the year. And it was right from neat little stories from, one young kid, Maverick, who he'd played with the exact same golf ball every tournament this year. Exact same. This little TP5 with a pizza marking on it. As his dad said, he'd probably has no idea what brand it is, but there's a pizza on it. So that's what's big for him. But he doesn't use it for any rounds outside of tournament play. And yeah, he's going to have to retire it after this season. You'll see his name here coming up when we talk about winners and things like that. So pretty cool to see. Just some great little swings. Lots of parents asking for nice advice. Polite kids as well. I can't even tell you how many people came up afterwards and were, thanking Chris, thanking McLean, thanking Tyler. Brad Smith, who also helps out, wasn't there, thanking us for being involved. The kids were, vying for head covers. There was head covers on the prize table.
Nice.
And when Chris gave gave them afterwards, had some extra prizes, the head covers were gone pretty quickly, but it was neat. They were just walking out of the parking lot, and all of a sudden this 11-year-old, walks out of the clubhouse and said, hey, thank you for everybody, everything you guys have done to sponsor. And I'm like, wow, that's really
Nice.
cool. And just sat and talked to the kid. He was from Whitby, and then ended up talking to the parents. And yeah, it's just a very, very positive experience. And I can't say that always exists in a lot of kids sports. We're all familiar with, kind of what happens in a variety of kids sports, that, there's usually a few things that spoil things. Didn't see this at all. Every time I was out on the tour this year, Chris obviously knows as an educator as well, they keep everything so positive, and they keep such a great environment where, it's just not about just the competition. There's competition that's there,
Yeah.
but that's not the focus. It's development, it's engaging kids, it's getting them, to have a lifelong love of the game. And you can see that whether the kids were 6 or 18. There's a few kids that aged out. They were actually pretty sad. They're, for some of them it was their last junior tournament ever. And they were like, yeah, they have great memories of playing on this tour. And Chris has run this tour now for 10 years.
Wow.
110 events, and obviously they absorbed the previous St. Lawrence Junior Tour that we're familiar with. I played on the St. Lawrence Junior Tour in like 1987, and talking to the kids about all the great players that have come through the structure of the St. Lawrence and progressively the Play Junior Golf Tour, they know how important these events are, and yeah, just kudos to Chris and the whole team. Amazing. And I know you've got some thoughts on that as well, as far as being a partner with them and what it's meant this year.
Well, definitely. We've always tried to be involved as much as we can with junior golf, and we kind of stepped up a little bit this year, took on a little stronger role, a little bigger role with the Flagstick.com Cup sponsorship. And I love what Chris is doing, and anything I can do to kind of help out as much as possible with making sure that the tour continues to have success. We ran into a few hiccups this year that we were trying to work through for next year. And Chris and I have already had a conversation about the possibility of one big sort of, we'll call it a co-sanctioned junior event with the Play Junior Golf Tour and Flagstick.com. But we're going to work out some details and figure out the logistics of pulling off something pretty big next year as an extra, not necessarily part of the tour, but being co-sponsored, co-sanctioned with ourselves and the Play Junior Golf Tour. So stay tuned for that another time. But yeah. But we had some winners. We had some winners on a couple of categories here. We had both the winners of the day and the winners of the Flagstick.com. So let's run through the winners and get their names out there, and then see where we go.
Yeah, so event winners, and we don't have all the age categories marked here, but here's all their names, and they'll obviously recognize it and applaud these kids.
Oh,
and
for sure.
As I said, a few of them are now, this is their kind of their last junior events, but winning at the Tour Championship. And in some cases, you'll hear their names as well as the Flagstick.com Cup champions for the season. But Carrie Zhao, Olivia Fowler, Jack Sample, Olivia Pattison, Ethan Mackay, Peyton Pattison, Jackson Murphy, Avery Gilbert Harvey, Brady Hall, Haley Dennis, Bentley Klumpmaker, Nash Adamick, and Vanessa Bell were your winners at the Tour Championship.
And the overall race to the Flagstick.com Cup champions included Edmund Blakely, Moy McDonald, Jacqueline Minkhorst, Scyllid, I'm going to get this wrong.
Kaylee Spare.
Kaylee Spare,
Yeah.
Everett Pattison, Leanna
Yeah.
Sang,
Yep.
Peyton Velkamp, which I
You
think
got
he
it.
might have aged out.
Yeah, he did, and he actually wasn't there for that. He was actually away at a scrimmage for his hockey team. So,
Okay.
but he had already locked up enough points to win the thing. So,
Marlo Slater, Jackson Murphy, Avery Gilbert Harvey, Maverick Fowler.
yep,
This was the
there's your
individual you're
TaylorMade
talking about.
boy.
Great
Great
last
kid.
name.
Yep,
Vanessa Bell, Jack Sample, and Maeve Marshall.
you got it. Yeah, great
Um,
kids. Got to meet a bunch of them, not only this event but others. Chat to some parents. Again, it was a great day, and no disrespect to going to other adult tournaments and stuff like that, but there's just a different level of joy and gratefulness
well,
with
and
it.
and this is herein lies the problem that we have sometimes is we're not there's not some major big office in downtown
No.
Ottawa where we have hundreds of reporters out covering events. Sometimes we have to make a choice.
Yeah, we
And
do.
in this case, yes, we sponsor the Flagstick.com Players Tour as well.
Yeah,
And we have the Play Junior Golf Tour. Now, you know, we want to be at both places at the same time,
definitely.
certainly, but it's just sometimes it's not possible.
Yeah.
And this is a time where okay, you make a choice. Okay, well, we're going to be on site for a junior
Yeah.
championship as opposed to
Adults. Yeah.
the adults. So
Yeah.
not that we don't like the pros, we love the pros. That's why we
No.
sponsored the tour. That's why we're heavily involved there. But
Yeah, for sure.
we made a choice, and in this case, a good choice this year to.
Yeah, it's a great day. And I mean, it's hard. You do a lot of things in golf and you're around golf all the time and you get a little bit jaded by it. And it's
Mhm.
going to events like this that sort of, they fill your heart a little bit. They make you feel a little bit more whole. You see these kids that, you're going to see them for a long, long time,
Mhm.
and you see how they get involved with the game, and it really reminds you of the spark that you and I both had early on as far as golf is concerned, and how it kind of brought a different joy to your life, and you see that happening for them, and that's fun to see.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So that's more or less a wrap on the Play Junior Golf Tour. Chris,
Yeah,
much needed rest, and probably off to hockey rinks anyway.
yeah, no
So,
doubt.
um, the CPKC Women's Open.
It's
Um,
always funny now. I mean, obviously there's a change in sponsorship, the change with the corporation. So we just have to get used to saying CPKC as opposed
it's a
to
tougher one.
CP.
We'll get
Yeah,
it.
it is. Just a couple
We'll get
extra
it.
couple extra letters.
Okay, we'll get it. It's being played at Shaughnessy Golf and
Yeah.
Country Club in Vancouver. It was supposed to be there in 2020.
Hmm.
For obvious reasons, it was not.
No.
Um, there are 15 Canadians in the field this week. Brooke Henderson and Maddie Zirk, the only regulars. The
Yeah.
rest are Monday qualifiers or have exemptions. But
Yeah.
that's great to see
Yeah.
15
Yeah.
Canadians playing in the
Yeah,
Canadian.
that's one of the greatest parts of having Golf Canada and their sponsor, with CBKC involved, that they get all those extra spots that they can give these kids and young adults the experience of playing in these tournaments, and give them the motivation to kind of move on. So yeah, it's great to see those players in that field, and yeah, it's fun to watch.
Now, some interesting observations for this week.
Yes.
Brooke Henderson,
Yep.
who is obviously, I guess technically the favorite Canadian to do well
Oh,
because
by
she
far,
always
yeah.
seems to do well at the
13,
CPKC.
13-time LPGA winner. Of course, she's going to be
Um,
the favorite.
Now, she's wearing glasses.
Hmm.
I'm sure you know why
Sure.
he's wearing
Yeah.
glasses. It's something different. I mean, even my
Yeah.
wife, who saw the news, she was doing a press conference. She had glasses on. She goes, "Does
Mhm.
she always wear glasses?" I'm
Well,
like,
she does off the golf course and away from the golf course. That's something that she always does, but she hasn't worn them on the course.
mhm.
And I think she began to realize that it was certainly impeding her. She practiced with them this week and seemed comfortable with it. I mean, one of the things that she struggles with is she couldn't see. Like, she's trying to make these long putts, and she'd get Brittany, her sister who caddies for her, putting the flag in the hole, and that's to help her vision. Well, vision's super, super important as far as the ability to have touch and feel.
Mm-hmm.
And, so yeah, she's taking a little bit of a gamble this week, trying it out. Seems to like it so far based on her comments when she met the media earlier this week. And you can go up on flagstick.com. We've got a story I did up there based on her press conference with the media early in the week, and she talks about wearing the glasses and a few other things. Some comments about that, but I think she knows there's some things that she needs to do, which we're going to get to in a minute here. And then, you know what? Why wouldn't you wear your glasses? I mean, if you're just doing it from an aesthetic standpoint of not wearing them, that's a bad idea when it's something that,
Well, it's your livelihood,
yeah,
and
and
I guess
it changes your function.
I guess the thing with Brooke is the one thing that people always seem to knock her about is the lack of short
Putting.
game, and in
Yeah.
particular her putting.
Yeah.
I mean, we can attribute a lot of things to poor putting and poor short game, but if this is something that she's been kind of, I won't say struggling with, because if she's aware of it, she's aware of it. You're not struggling, you're struggling, but you're not really struggling with something that you know is a problem if you just don't deal with the problem. I mean, if she's dealing with the problem and this is actually something that's improving her ability to see lines, see shots better, read putts, whatever the case may be, then you should be doing this stuff. It's like,
yeah, vision is massive. I mean, we don't realize how much it ties into what we do with our brains when we're training ourselves for golfing, especially from a putting aspect of it. It's really a big connection as far as how to create your feels and to create what's going to happen as far as how much effort you're going to put into a stroke to get a golf ball close to the hole. And if you start to look at your long distance putts and you're having an issue judging the speed, well, that's generally how players, average players, for an example, that's how they three putt. They three putt because they don't get the ball close enough to the hole. It's not, it's usually not because of line from the distance, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of visual things that I know as a golf coach that I work on players training all the time to be able to see line properly, especially on a short putts. There's a lot of different things involved with that, and kudos to her for tackling that, and gonna need it this week. I mean, it's a tough golf course. This has hosted a few RBC Canadian Opens, and the last time it was held here, Sean O'Hare won it in a playoff. He was only at 4 under in 2011. So this is going to be a big test this week. 6,700 yards, so it's kind of in the length of a major. Tight tree line golf course, and that's going to put a lot of demands on these players, and you got to look for every advantage you can. So kudos to Brooke, and hopefully we'll see how that works out. But
no, that is huge, and it is kind of more of a major championship golf course and golf course setup. I mean, I don't know how they're setting it up compared to for the LPGA compared to how they did for the RBC Canadian Open in 2011. If it'll be similar, if the rough is a little shorter, or what have you. I guess it depends on the weather leading into it too.
I mean, it's obviously it's Vancouver, so I mean, you're going to have lush grass as it is. I mean, the trees are the trees; they're only bigger than they were in 2011, and these are tight tree-lined fairways. Obviously, she's had success in the Pacific Northwest, winning in Portland, winning at Sahalee, Northern California. So, 4 of her 13 wins have come on tight tree line golf courses. But she knows, and she mentioned it, that, she cannot be as aggressive this week. She needs to really be, great with her shot making. And she was grinding hard on that this week. And, there's a reason why. If we start to dig into her stats, everybody, like you said, a lot of people will target her putting, but this year it's been more of her ball striking. Like her total tee to green is not been great as far as strokes gained. Her approaches to the green, she's dropped significantly. Like approaches into the green from 2022 to 2023, she's dropped from 13th to 68th. And if you're not hitting the greens, that means
the putting becomes
downs. Putting becomes more critical as far as up and downs. It's not that, again, we're not talking about a bust season here. We're talking about somebody who won already this year,
Yeah.
had a second at the Amundi Avion, but she also had 4 missed cuts, which is not her.
Hmm.
That's not her style of game. She hasn't missed a lot of cuts in her career, and she's that's in 17 events she played this year. But she characterized it as an up and down year, rightly so, and she missed the cut at the IG Women's Open, which is only her second missed cut in like 45 majors, which sounds ridiculous to be critical of, but she notices that it's not what she wants. She wants, she's used to being consistently in the top tens all the time,
Hmm.
not making the cuts, and then all of a sudden being T49. So yeah, she's definitely got to clean up those irons a good bit for sure.
I wonder sometimes too, as she gets older, if some of the things that she was, I mean, older. She's
Yeah,
by no means is
25.
she old, but
She's 20,
I
26
wonder
in a couple
if
weeks here.
some of the things that she was able to do when she was 18,
Hmm.
or 16 or
Sure.
17,
Yeah.
if she's
Yeah.
able to do the same things with respect to her swing
Hmm.
and things like that, if some things have changed,
Sure. They always
that
change. You're a change.
she's.
Every athlete changes, right?
And I wonder if that may have something to do with the ball
Hmm.
striking side of things, maybe some equipment differences or something like
Yeah.
that. I mean, anything's possible, obviously,
Yeah,
with
and those are the things people have to realize, that, like you said, the athlete that you are at 18, you're a different person by the time you're 25. So it's recognizing those and adapting it towards what you can do. You can't necessarily do what you did physically,
Mhm.
but there's ways to get the results that you need, but you've got to be willing to work with your team and kind of figure that out, and don't assume that just because what is always going to be. That's the reality of it. So
I
to
think
see
that
her starting to
she's
make some adaptations change is good.
I think that she's, and I mean, I'm not trying to overstep my bounds here, and my knowledge of as a swing coach and things like that. I'm not a swing coach,
Hmm. Yep.
but I have to think, and this is just one person's opinion. I have to think that if she worked with um, a true swing coach, like if she really
Yeah.
worked with, I know her dad works with
Yeah,
her
dad's
and
her
has been her
coach.
coach, and
Yep.
that's fine.
But there's
I have
difference
no
between a
issues, but
coach. There's lots of different ways to coach.
and
Yeah.
not all the top players on the planet are working with high end swing coaches. But I think
Yeah.
if you take a look, the majority of the ones that are consistently winning or
Mm,
finishing in the top tens week after week after week, they
mm.
work with coaches, putting coaches, short game coaches,
Right.
swing
Yep.
coaches. Now I get early
Biomechanists, all sorts of different things. Yeah.
on in your career, you're not
Yeah.
bringing in a lot of prize money.
No.
It's tougher to just go willy-nilly out and start hiring people to help you
Yeah.
with your game. But this is your livelihood.
Right.
This is what you want to do. You want to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
If that's the plan, you have the money.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Why not just take a year or two and try a different
Yeah.
approach and
Hmm.
see if that approach helps lead to some consistency.
Yeah, I think the thing here is that usually as people go on and they're having success, I always use the term fail upward. It's not
Hmm.
that you're failing, you're still doing well, but there may be things that you could do to be better. And it doesn't matter what it is, business or otherwise, sports, you name it. But the thing is, if you're having all the success, it's very easy to ignore that.
Yeah.
So what has to happen though is that when you're maybe not having the results that you want, which is kind of where maybe she's at right now, or hearing that, her have those discussions and talk about those things or whatever, maybe she's kind of looking at that a little bit harder, and she's looking for some other little pieces and stuff like that. So doesn't mean a wholesale change in
No.
her game. No, not necessarily. But, obviously when we see things like, the glasses coming out and her talking about that stuff, that's important. You
Hmm.
hear players reflecting. I mean, Victor Hovland, who just won, was talking about self-reflection and having a look at what you need to do to be better. So proud of her for doing that, and yeah, maybe she needs to dig a little bit on that. Again, it's not a wholesale change. It doesn't necessarily have to be. There's a lot of times things are just little, but yeah, it'll be good to see this week. As you said, 15 Canadians in the field.
Yeah.
Be fun to see. Maddie Zarek, a fun little aside for her. Her sister Ellie, who is part of the national team program, she is at SMU now. She's a senior. She got an exemption, and the two of them are playing together. They got paired
Nice.
together.
Maybe not nice. I don't know.
No,
It's a bit of a sibling rivalry, I
yeah, they're
guess, right?
super excited. Well, it makes it a lot easier for their parents and relatives and whatever to follow. That's for sure. And her mom, Ellen, is fabulous. She, watches the girls very closely at many events or whatever. So that's kind of a cool aside. A lot of young Canadians and things that are in there as well. Luna Lou got through the Monday. She's only 16. Yeah, it's going to be fun, just like every year, and they should have a very successful tournament out there. It's nice to have it back in Vancouver. It hasn't been
Yes,
there since
definitely.
2015, and they've got a great field, 9 of the top 10 in the world, and it's also a big week. It's the last week of qualifying for the U.S. Solheim Cup team. So this will determine a bunch of things, and then a European team as well does their picks. So they've announced their picks already, but yeah, this will be setting up what's going to happen for the Solheim Cup. So a big week for Canada, a big week for the LPGA Tour, and a big week for a lot of Canadians playing out there in Vancouver.
There you go. So tune in. I'm sure that you'll be able to find it on TV somewhere.
Oh yeah,
and tune in, have a look. And I know you'll enjoy watching them at least play the golf course.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a stunning golf course.
All right. We're going to wrap things up on the front nine by heading out to the lesson tee. And we're going to see what Kevin and Jake, they're back this week. Kevin and Jake Hamer back this week. We're talking about not ever three putting again. So that's certainly something of interest. So let's head out onto the lesson tee, which is obviously presented by the Kevin Hamer Golf School. It's always the right time to play better. Whether you need private lessons, a better short game, some putting help, or even some custom club fitting, visit kevinhaim.com, and remember that better golf is a lot more fun. All right, let's head out to the lesson tee and see what Kevin and Jake have for us this week.
Happy Tip Tuesday, golfers. Today we're helping you out on how to avoid three putts. Jake, bring it up here. Let's see a good 40-footer. So there's a golf pro putting a 40-foot putt. Hello. Attaboy, good job. Okay, so a lot of people come to us, Jake, and they think, well, I can't read greens. That's why I'm so bad and I miss so many putts. But we set this grid up for our camps and clinics. And this grid is 4 feet wide on either side of the cup and 6 feet deep. And this pattern we have here is very typical, right? I mean, we see people coming up 10 feet short, hitting it 10 feet too far.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah, and if you look at the pattern, and these are not Jake's putts, by the way, but if you look at this pattern, you'll see that every putt is within 2 or 3 feet from side to side. So we can avoid three putts if we can make those 3-footers. But what happens with people is they leave the ball deadly short or super long, and then they 3-putt. So why do they do that? Give us a couple of ideas on how we can become better lag putters, which is really the secret to avoiding the 3-putting.
Yeah, I think people have two main issues. Number one, you struggle to hit the middle of the face consistently because people tend to move around too much as the putts get longer.
Yeah, you know, they want to hit it harder, and really just a longer stroke will innately give you a little more movement. My favorite drill for that, Jake, just quickly, place one hand on your abdomen and practice putting with one arm. And it can be either arm, but it just really gives you a sense of having a quiet body. And you're right, if your body stays quiet and your putter swings with just the arms, you'll hit the sweet spot more times than not, which transfers the same amount of energy into the ball every single time.
Yeah, when you hit a different part of the face, the ball will get a different amount of energy, as you just said, so it'll roll different lengths. So that is the first step to having good distance control. The second step to having good distance control is keeping a consistent tempo from putt to putt to putt. And having that consistent tempo means the only real variable for how long the putt's gonna roll is how long my swing is, which is much easier to control.
Yeah, there's so many gyroscopes now and tempo testers, and it's basically 2 parts backswing to 1 part into the golf ball. So 2-to-1 rhythm. And you want that on a 4-footer, a 10-footer, or the 40-footer you just putted. We always want the same rhythm. If you can stay still and hit the sweet spot every time, and you can control your rhythm every single time, you'll become a lot better lag putter for sure.
For sure, and the other thing to say, everybody, I mean, obviously that putt went in, there's a little luck to that in a 40-footer, but when you're hitting putts the right distance, you are giving yourself the best chance to have them go in as well. Because if the ball's going the right distance to the hole, if you do happen to get that read right, the putt will drop. So
if you don't, Jake, the most you'll probably misread a putt by is 2 to 3 feet, which is a big misread, and you'll still end up making the second putt and avoiding that 3 putt.
Which is why this is still an excellent putt, everybody. That's going to go in, and it's a really good management of my pace from that far away.
There it is, golfers. Stop focusing so much on your green reading and start focusing more on staying still to make solid impact and having great rhythm to your putt at any length, and you'll become a better putter.
All right.
There we go.
There you go. No more 3 putts. Figure it out.
3 putts.
Watch the video or listen, whichever. And if you're still not sure, give Kevin or Jake a call out at the Kevin Haim Golf Center and see if you can't slide in for a little short game putting lesson there and get rid of the 3 putts. All right, we have to take a break. As we jump out to break, I just want to remind everybody about the Flagstick 2-Ball Championship, which is supposed to be happening September 9th and 10th at Brockville Country Club. We really need some more teams. We do not want to cancel this event. It's the last thing that we want to do because it's a great event. And but I'm going to say we probably need about 6 or 8 more teams to really have a viable field to make it another special weekend this year. So get over to flagstick.com, click on events, click on Flagstick 2-Ball Championship, and get your partner together and register ASAP. We're going to close off entries as of Sunday and make a decision if we have enough entries to hold the event or not. So enter. All right, let's take a break. When we come back 9, talking about the Tour Championship and a little game of over-under. Stay with us on the Flagstick Podcast. Adidas introduces the Ultimate 365 Tour Heat Apparel and ZG23 Event footwear to help golfers handle the heat this season. Both the ZG23 Event and Ultimate 365 Tour Apparel are available now on adidas.ca, the Adidas app, and selected retailers worldwide. Well, welcome back to the Flagstick Podcast with Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod. And we've rounded the turn, of course. We're heading on out to the back 9. Back 9 presented this week by Castleview Golf Club. Only a short 25-minute drive from Ottawa, this 18-hole layout is renowned for its superb conditions and unsurpassed service, making it a must-play in the capital region. 5, 10, and 20-round packages are still available. Visit castleview.com for more information. Okay, Scott.
Yeah.
I guess we'll get into a little Tour Championship talk as the PGA Tour winds down and enters into the weirdest round of golf or weirdest tournament.
Handicap golf on professional tours.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm not going to complain about it because at the end of the day, somehow
they have to have an advantage.
It seems to balance out, and the tournament seems to be good, and the guy that's got the 2-shot lead to start the tournament, but potentially has a 7 or 8 shot lead over the guy in 10th. I don't get it. It seems to work out somehow, but I don't particularly like it. I don't like the idea that the guy that wins the Tour Championship wins the FedEx Cup. I don't see how you play
to simplify it. Right?
You play all year long. Now, I don't like the old way where the guy could win the FedEx Cup before the Tour Championship even happens. But that said, I still think that there's a format that would allow this whole thing to play itself out, where you play for the FedEx Cup in the regular season. It's like NHL teams playing for the President's Trophy.
Right.
You play the whole regular season to win the President's Trophy.
Right.
Points. You play in the events. You play your best.
Who cares about the President's Trophy?
Well, but the thing is,
the problem.
Well, I would care if Scotty Scheffler plays really well all year long,
which he has, obviously,
and is at this point going into the top 70.
Yeah,
he's the leading point guy. He's the man.
Right.
Boom. Now the playoffs start. So he wins the FedEx Cup. He wins the FedEx Cup.
Yeah.
He's the leading point getter.
He should have by
now.
The
final event on the tour should be a multi-point event and, whatever. He wins the FedEx Cup. He played the best all year long. He's
Right.
rewarded for that.
Right.
When it comes right down to it, he plays the best all year long, leading into the last 3 events of the season.
Yeah.
Which are the playoff events. He plays the best all year long, and to me, he's not rewarded for it. Because at the end of the day, he may have the most points going into the first event of the playoffs, but when he gets to the end, someone else could be ahead of him going into the Tour Championship. So I feel like it should be, you play the points to get into the top 70. Okay, so once you're in the top 70, the last event happens, you're in the top 70, the leading point getter, there's some kind of, FedEx Cup, maybe $5 million for the FedEx Cup winner, the regular season winner, and another $5 million is the bonus for the winner of the Tour Championship. But the top 70 get into the first playoff event. Okay, they play the first playoff event, and the top 50 from that first playoff event move on. Not points. The top 50 in that first event move on. That's the playoff. You finish outside the top 50 in that first playoff event. You finish outside of it, you're out. You're gone. It doesn't matter how many points you have. Your points are done. The points got you there. The number of points you got you to the top 70. Now you got to play your way to the final. There's no more points. You play the top 50. Then after that event, the top 30 move on to the Tour Championship from that previous event. So the BMW. So they play the top 30, move on to and they get to play for the big $5 million bonus purse and the Tour Championship. And that's the playoffs, and that's the Stanley Cup. There you go. You know what I mean?
Here's the separation, right? Stanley Cup players play. One, do you think about for the Stanley Cup? They talk about the Stanley Cup.
Yes.
They don't talk about the bonuses that the players get. You may hear that afterwards, right? But it's not the focus. It's to win the cup, right?
Okay.
That's the big thing. Of course, Stanley Cup is not sponsored by anyone. The issue here is that we're talking about the difference between rewarding just play, which is what you would actually be doing, which is totally fine, and rewarding the sponsor, which brings in the business aspect of it.
Okay.
So that's what I mean. But that's what I mean.
Okay. I got the solution.
That's what's happening here, is the whole idea is to satisfy the sponsor who's putting up a $75 million pool.
Yep, I got it.
Okay. Because if you do, you're the only one in the world.
I got it figured out. Okay. All season long, they play for the Commissioner's Cup.
Oh, God. Okay.
Presented by FedEx. Okay. Commissioner's Cup. Listen, they play for
I'm listening.
They play for the Commissioner's Cup. Presented by FedEx.
Yeah.
At the end of the regular season, the leading point getter, same as in any sport, the leading point getter, team or player, Commissioner's Cup. They're awarded the Commissioner's Cup, and there's a huge payout bonus for being the leading point getter at the end of the regular season. Okay. Right. Top 70 in FedEx Cup points, which is what you're ultimately playing for. Okay. They get into the playoffs. They make the playoffs. The top teams, top players get into the playoffs, and then they play their way down 70, 50, 30. And at the end of the thing, the Tour Championship, the winner of the Tour Championship wins the Tour Championship and gets to hoist the FedEx Cup and the $10 million or $9 million bonus. Why can't it be like that? They're still playing for it, but the points don't get you any bonus when it gets to that final event.
But the problem is they're after the most spectacular nut to chase possible.
But that would be the most spectacular nut. Seeing 30 guys tip it up at even par.
You've already given away the other side. Hey, I'm not.
But it's a smaller nominal.
I'm not saying there's other solutions. Yeah, but they're already playing for $20 million in some of those other events anyway. So they are getting $3 million. So that's what I mean.
I want the excitement of knowing that, okay, the top 30 guys get in.
Yeah.
And I want to know that that Ricky Fowler, who's sitting in 49th or whatever, or 20, or it's not 49th, it's top 30, 24th, at 2 under par, has even a snowball's chance in hell of beating Scotty Scheffler, who's starting the tournament 10 under.
Yeah, and I mean the percentage. I mean, Rory is pretty much one of the only guys that's that came back to win from way back before or whatever.
You got one guy who's got to play extraordinary well, and Scotty Scheffler's got to crap the bed.
Sure, but
which is what happened. He putted like crap and didn't win, and Rory played amazing.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, once you start watching it and they stop explaining it, you just look at the scoreboard anyways. I mean, the idea is here to give the top player an advantage for what they've earned. Hey, in the end, I'll tell you what, if you ask the players, they got what they got. They're happy to get in to the playoffs. I mean, Sepp Straka, is guaranteed $500,000. He's guaranteed a spot in 3 of the 4 majors. Is he worried that he starts 10 back from Scotty Scheffler? He starts 10 back from Scotty Scheffler every week. In essence, no disrespect to Sepp Straka, but I mean, the way Scotty Scheffler is playing this year, that
what an odd way to think about it, McLeod.
But hey, there's so many ways to think about it, and I don't think there's a perfect solution. And I think what they've tried to do is they tried to streamline it so that the average fan, and what that was a complication before, is that they'd be playing like, okay, well, who's going to win the FedEx, but who's going to win the Tour Championship, and we don't know, and if this, and there's too much math for the average consumer.
I agree with that part of it. To me, the Tour Championship winner is the FedEx Cup winner. It's the Stanley Cup champion is the one who wins the Tour Championship.
This is the way to simplify it, have everything be the same. Is it odd? Yes, it's odd, but it's.
I just want to see them when they get to the playoffs. I want to see the guys that play well in the first event move on to the second event. I don't want to see the guys that play well in the first event who started too far back to begin with that don't have a chance to get to the second event.
But you're thinking also of the mentality of, we had a crappy regular season that was just enough to get in the playoffs,
and then let's go,
and then they get rewarded just for the playoffs. Where what's they're trying to do here with the PGA Tour is they're still trying to reward the great play all season long. So in their mind,
then it isn't the playoffs.
Well, that's
the
whole point.
It's just an extension of the regular season. It's not the playoffs, so don't call it the playoffs.
But that's the point. The whole point is to reward for them is to reward the sponsor, the TV viewers, as far as ratings and things, because they want to make sure that the player that has been playing well all year all of a sudden doesn't get way down. I mean, think about
if I remember correctly, a while back when they had 4 playoff events, there was guys missing certain events because they already had enough points to get to the Tour Championship. And to me, there's your playoff. It's not the playoffs if you can skip a series,
I know, but
and still get to the finals.
But that's in a utopian world where you're not trying to satisfy all the sponsors. So, I mean, think about that.
I guess I live in a utopian world.
Well, I mean, you're after something that's more pure and rewarding that sort of thing versus, the NHL playoffs where, the President's Cup winning team all of a sudden gets eliminated in the first round.
I'd love to see that.
I know, but the sponsor putting up $75 million for the FedEx Stanley Cup wouldn't. Anyhow, let's get to this week and what's going to happen. Obviously, as you mentioned, Scotty Scheffler starts with a 10-stroke advantage over the 5 players that are kind of at the bottom. We have 2 Canadians in the top 30. Nick Taylor is making his debut in the Tour Championship. He gets to start in there. Where is he at? 22nd, and Corey Connors is at 19. So Nick is starting at 1 under. Corey is starting at 2. And as I said, the player that is at the bottom here is guaranteed $500,000. They get access to at least 3 of the majors. PGA Championship, realistically, they are going to get in there. They're going to get in all the big events. Don't be bitter. Don't be sad. But the winner here is going to get $18 million. And on the other side of it, they get to play East Lake. We get to watch East Lake. It's 30 players. So, the coverage is going to be tuned in on some of the best players in the world. Who's your favorite? Who are you watching to win? 1, who's your dark horse? Who's your favorite? I mean, it's easy to pick a favorite.
Okay, my dark
so.
horse is Ricky Fowler.
Okay, all right.
Based on how he has been playing.
So Ricky is
year,
obviously going in at 3 under par. He's starting in 14th, so he's
long way back.
He's going to make 7 shots, but 7 shots in 4 rounds is not a lot.
Who do I think is going to win?
Yeah.
My gut is telling me that it's probably going to be Rory.
Okay, so you think Rory's going to win his 4th FedEx Cup?
I think Rory's probably going to win. I don't think Scheffler's going to putt particularly well this week.
Okay,
and I think that's going to cause him to slide down a little bit. But I think it's between Rory. I could have
won last week if obviously Victor hadn't shot 28 on the back 9 and Scotty missed a few putts critically.
Scotty Scheffler is Mr. Consistent. Like I mean, if you want a guy who can basically draw a circle perfect every time, freehand,
he's the guy.
He's the guy that can draw a perfect circle every time freehand.
So think about this: if Scotty Scheffler wins this week, his PGA Tour money for the year will be at $39 million. He's already at 21 million. So, which is insane when you think about it as far as the year that he's had and playing in the big events. So, but yeah, Rory obviously won it in 2022, 2019 and 2016. He's trying to be the first player to win it back-to-back seasons and comes in number 3 at 3 back at 7 under.
Yeah. And what about you? What are you thinking?
I'm right there with you, actually. I mean, there's a difference, obviously, who you think is going to win and who you want to win. I don't know if Lucas Glover is going to keep his momentum. There's a guy, obviously, who's kind of ran up the leaderboard in the playoffs. Victor Hovland, he's hot. Whether that's going to stick with it, I don't know. I love what he's done this year, especially with his short game, working with Joe Mayo. He's definitely transformed that part of his game. He's already a killer ball striker. He only starts 2 strokes back. You got to stick, I think, in those top kind of 3 players just from a lead standpoint.
Yeah.
But dark horse, keep an eye for Xander. He's at 3 under. Had some success here. Fleetwood showing a little bit of spark as well. Matt Fitzpatrick showing some spark. I could be totally wrong here. I haven't seen a lot out of John Rahm of late, so I'm not expecting big things out of him at 6 under. I think you can, the guys that are at the bottom of the list, I think it's a lot
of ground to make up.
Yeah, it's a lot of ground to make up. And, while
it's not just about the strokes at that point, it's about the number of people you have to pass.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. It's bodies that you have to jump over. So, it would be remarkable if Corey or Nick could finish in the top 10, which obviously would have huge rewards to it. But, again, the fact they're there already has big rewards to it. So I think you can't go too far past the top 15 for sure.
Well, I don't feel that East Lake is the type of golf course that's going to yield someone coming in this week and putting up 4 rounds of like 64.
No,
I just don't. And that's essentially, if you're down in that 30 to 15 spot, you're pretty much going to have to be in the mid 60s every single round. To catch up to the leaders and hope that they're not going.
It's a par 70 golf course, and it's obviously super long. They got a lot of heat to deal with this week. It's going to be nearing 100 almost every day. Certainly, it's a great test for these players, but you're not going to push it over. You're right.
No, but if you can go out and throw a 65 or a 64 in the first round somehow, you're gonna jump up pretty quick.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But what's everybody in front of you going to do? And that's where the number of bodies in front of you start to come into play. It's like how I can't leapfrog all these guys if they're going to play. If I shoot 5 under and they shoot 3 under, I haven't really gained that much ground.
No,
I need them to shoot even.
Yeah, well,
realistically, that's not going to happen.
No, I mean, you realistically have, you're right. That's the thing. You can play as well as you possibly can, but without the strokes, you could still end up being behind. But, some players, like you say, Rory's done it. He's made up a big gap before. He's one of the players that has made up a big gap. You're just going to have to be spot on, and like you say, Matt Fitzpatrick, Victor Hovland, obviously both played well last week. I think Fitzy finished tied for second. Hovland got the win. They've got some momentum. But obviously Hovland's a little bit better positioned at 8 under. And you're right. I think it's going to come down, there's no cut here, but
No.
it's going to come down to that start of whether you believe you can do it, because you got to think, if it comes down to Saturday and Sunday and you're 10 back, you're probably not thinking in your mind that not only do I need to make up 10 strokes, I got to have that player move backwards or stay still. And if the conditions are ripe enough that you can throw up 500 a day, chances are the guys ahead of you are not going backwards as well.
Because they're
I
not
don't,
crappy golfers ahead of you. That's why they're
no,
ahead of you in the
these
first
are not
place.
guys that are going to be shooting 78s.
No.
Let's just say that. So,
No.
yeah, but it'll be fun to watch. I'll definitely have it on. Definitely be paying attention to it, and good luck to the Canadians there as well. I mean, that's good to see 2 of them in there. That's great for everything, for sure.
Now, obviously, the results of the Tour Championship are going to have significant ramifications on the selections for the Ryder Cup team, particularly for the U.S., but for both sides. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with some of those guaranteed
Picks.
The captain's picks.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. And we'll get into that next week after where, the selections are made and kind of breaking some of those down. But that will definitely be the storyline this week. You'll hear them talking about that on TV is, where does this put these players, in those selection process? Because you got to remember, there's players here that are not playing this week that are possible captain picks. But I will say, if we look and we talk about what we have done this week, Justin Thomas is already committed to the Fortinet in California. So I don't know if that tells you something or not. He wouldn't have to commit until the Friday. So maybe he knows something already of the fact that he's not going to Italy, or maybe he's just throwing up a smoke screen. It's hard to tell, but yeah, he wouldn't have to commit that till the Friday before, but he has already. So that sort of tells me that maybe a call has been made, but who knows?
I got to think that with Justin, and I know that Zach Johnson and Justin Thomas are very, very, very good friends.
Sure.
So that's going to be a tough one for Zach Johnson to not pick. But I got to think that in the best interest of the U.S. team, that Justin Thomas is not really the best pick this year. Experience aside, he's been there, and I get that experience does play a factor in a lot of this. But case in point, having somebody like Ian Poulter on a Ryder Cup team, even when he's not playing well during the regular season, that guy is a competitor. It's kind of like Sergio Garcia.
But I mean,
you can't.
But the thing is, are you judging what you need to have done now based on the past, right?
It's hard to say.
You need players to get it done now. So that'd be interesting to see how that comes out. One, if he's not picked, he said he wants to be on that team, but is he realistically for himself thinking, okay, maybe it's not the best that I'm not on this team? And maybe he's made a phone call already to Zach Johnson and said, hey, you know what? I'm going to go play in this other event, and I'm not going to be on the team. It would be hard to think that a player would do that. They would bury their ego enough to do that. But if they truly don't think they're on and they want the best interest for the team, then it's no different than a player saying, hey, put me on the bench, I'm not ready to go
exactly
after they go out and play or whatever. So if he thinks he's good enough, then obviously he's going to keep his name in the hat. But yeah, it'll be fun to see how that plays out. And hey, Solheim and Ryder Cup same year, it's always fun to watch. So.
Exactly. All right, well, enjoy the Tour Championship, everybody. Should be exciting to see if somebody can jump from the middle of the pack and make up some strokes that they never
never took or lost.
Not my, love the event, don't like the format, but until I can come up with a better way of doing it, then I'm just going to stop complaining. We're
all just spinning our wheels because, as you said, I mean, I totally agree with you. Some of the format changes that you're proposing there totally make sense relative to other sports, the purity of actually what's happening. But in the end, it's a business game, and as we've seen already with the PGA Tour, they're having to do a lot of different things to satisfy the business side of things that are not necessarily the best decisions for their sport, but they have to do what they have to do.
I want to say something too, Scott, about the and then we want to do your over-under thing. because
Sure.
it seems cool. But I just want to say this, and it's maybe a topic for discussion in another podcast, another show. But there's been a lot of stuff I see kicking up in social media and whatnot, because, that's what we do, about when it came to what Live Golf did to force the PGA Tour to find money that they apparently never had to begin with, to start throwing money at all these players and stuff like that. The one thing I want to say about stuff like that is, when you run a business, sometimes your competitor forces you to go down a road that you would not normally have wanted to go down, because it was not the best business model. Just because there might be sponsors that you can go after, or event ideas, or different payment structures that you might be considering for the future, doesn't necessarily mean that you jump all over that, because maybe at the time it's not the right thing to do. I think PGA Tour players make a fairly decent living, the ones that are on the tour. In fact, a very decent living. I don't think there's too many of them that are on the tour that are really struggling that much financially.
No, but they have to earn it.
And that's the thing with professional golf. It's always been, you have to earn that. You have to earn it. You have to go out and perform week after week after week consistently to get the big sponsorships, to get the notoriety, to get the wins, the top 10s, and the big money. But all the while they're out there playing and getting their top 10s and their top 20s. You look at a guy that finishes in the top 25 on a regular basis, he's probably pulling down close to $1 million or more a year.
Oh yeah, by far.
I'm sorry, but that's a pretty decent living. Why does it have to be $100 million? Just because the PGA Tour might be able to go out and solidify another $200 million in sponsorship, so they can pay these guys another $1 million or $2 million a year. Why does it have to be that way? That's my point. So just because you see these things about, Liv did this to make the PGA Tour apparently find money that was never there. The money probably wasn't there, and they had to go out and get it. But I don't know the inner workings of that. But just because, even if it was there, doesn't mean they have to give it to somebody. That's my point. Okay.
Yep. No, fair enough.
Scotty Mac.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk over under. What is this? What is this over under? So, it's your thing. So
yeah, I've done a couple of different shows, places do things, overrated, underrated, birdie, bogey, all sorts of different things. You hear things on radio shows, podcasts, stuff like that all the time. I basically picked out some different things in golf that are maybe some people like or they don't like. This is just our chance to say, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Do we like it, not like it? It doesn't mean it should be banned from the game.
Yeah.
It's just a point of discussion about some things that are going on.
Should we scratch off number one already?
During golf? Yeah, we should actually. So, over under par, is it good or bad? The staggered scoring at the PGA Tour Championship.
Garbage, get rid of it.
All right. You're not a fan, so we'll
no.
Go that. I'll jump on the other side. I think it's the necessary evil at this point to reward the top player in the current format that they have. They had to do something to at least reward the better players and give them some advantage. And unfortunately, they had to simplify some things, and under the current format, this is probably the easiest way to do that. So I'll go under par for that. You'll go over par for that, obviously.
Yes.
All right. Custom golf shafts. And when I mean this, I don't mean custom fitted, right?
I mean colors and all that.
What I mean is colors. People do stuff that they've got reflective colors on it, putting names on it, whatever.
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I'm saying, what do you think over?
Yeah, under par. I say under par. I think that's maybe because I have shafts in one set of my irons that has a laser engraved nickname on them. So I think customize your stuff.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm of the mind that basically, you're paying a lot of money for this stuff, show off your personality, do whatever you want. I don't think it's there it's for you, right? I think if you're doing it for other people, that's a different scenario. I don't know why you would to draw attention to yourself or whatever. But, if you're just doing it to reflect what you want, hey, it's no different than, having different colors or something on your skates or something like that, or whatever.
For sure.
Different colored laces or whatever. So it's your call. So under par for me. Bluetooth speakers for the golf course. I knew this. I knew this one would. This is let
me go even par.
All right.
Okay. I am okay with the Bluetooth speakers playing within your group.
Yeah.
if you want to do that, like, particularly obviously not tournament golf, and they wouldn't allow it anyway, but just in casual golf out there, if you can hear it within your group, here's the point. If I hear it and I'm not in your group and don't happen to be standing on the tee next to you when you're teeing off, or, whatever, if I can hear it, then no, turn the crap off. But if the thing that I don't like, and this actually happened to me very recently and it bothered me, I'm on the tee getting ready to hit my shot. A group drives up in their carts, okay, which is already a bother to begin with if you drive your cart up onto the tee when there's another group there. But if you can't see them, whatever. Blaring the music as they're driving up, distracts. You go to swing, it's distracting. Do you hit it bad? Do you hit it good? Most of the time I couldn't give a crap anyway. But no, turn the music off. And if you don't know, then turn the music off. Don't just drive up to a tee, let alone drive up to the tee blaring music. Second thing, if you're on the green or whatever and you got your music blaring and I can hear it in my group, no, turn it down. It doesn't need to be that loud. If it's a fun little charity golf tournament kind of thing, have at it. Blare it all you want. I could care less. That's kind of what those things are all about anyway.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same vein. I mean, I don't mind as far as having fun or whatever, but if you're doing anything that ruins other people's experience, then I'm very cognizant of that. To the point of, I've got one guy that, plays at my golf club and he always has music, which is totally fine. But he always makes sure he turns it down when he's near other tees. He also asks people right at the start, I play this kind of music. Do you mind this kind of music? And he also asks the people, especially if it's a group, do you mind? Right from the start. And if you do mind, he doesn't play it. He forgoes that for the sake of making sure that the round is fine for everyone else and not being selfish and just assuming that it's totally fine. He asks, and that's the polite thing to do.
There you go.
All right, let's get going here through the list. We're kind of getting up against the clock here. Golf commentators in general.
Give or take. Some of them I like, some of them I don't. I mean, let's go for the majority, yes or no, as far as under par. I'd say under par. Most of them I like. There's just a few that I could probably mute, which obviously I'm watching TV. So, and a lot of times, honestly, a lot of times I watch golf on TV and I don't have the volume on. I just watch it. I really, there's really nothing, frankly. I mean, maybe I should be over par on this. Frankly, I don't need to listen to them. There's nothing that they say that's of any interest to me while a round of golf is going on, and I'm watching the golf shots. The players aren't talking, caddies aren't talking. So
and
I could do without them, but you kind of have to have them.
I think maybe you're in a different situation than other people that are not as experienced in the game. They're looking for it to help them sort of know what's going on or whatever. But I think for me, I mean, some of the analysts that are chosen are chosen because their names or whatever. They don't necessarily aren't the best analysts.
I think it's changed a lot too. Gary McCord was awesome.
He was entertaining.
Johnny Miller was brutally honest. And but then he became one of the ones that I like to listen to the least because he became almost too brutally honest.
Here's the thing. I don't mind if a commentator knows what they're doing from a lane standpoint. If they're there just entertaining and making comments and telling stories, that's perfectly fine. But if they're an analyst, they better know what they're talking about from a technical level. So unfortunately, that gets merged a little bit sometimes. And that's when things become trouble. This is a great chance to educate people and give them some really great information and really get them better at the game. So majority for me are over par, and I could mute it and I would be perfectly fine. So
there you go.
All right, golf courses posting stimp rating. So stimp rating, obviously people don't know, it's basically a measurement of the speed in feet that the greens are the particular day. Some golf courses actually post them, whether it's a bragging thing or they're just trying to show that what they are or make people aware. Do you like the policy or of courses? And not a lot of courses do it.
No, I would say for me, I'm gonna say over par on that one.
Okay.
But if you want to do it, I would just say post slow, medium, fast, or something like that. Like, I mean,
interesting.
realistically, the actual number means
That
very
probably
little to
doesn't
most
mean.
people.
Yeah.
So you know,
I'd agree with that. Most people
say if you
obviously.
say today's greens are fast,
Yeah.
then that's
Yeah.
probably, or
I
you know,
mean,
if you really want to help
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
just make sure your putting green is the same speed as the greens on the golf course,
Fair
and
enough.
you don't need to post anything.
Yeah, I think the term, unfortunately, people don't really have a true measurement of what a 9 is or a 13 is, and you hear a lot of exaggeration. So it probably doesn't mean as much. Maybe it means more to their social media ratings if it's really high and they post stuff. So I don't think it's really necessary unless a player technically kind of knows it. And as you said, as long as the practice green is running the same, then away you go.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
golf cart use by those with non-medical needs. So in other words, do you like carts or not carts?
Oh, I'm okay with carts. Yeah, I mean, and I think as I get, I mean, I'm a little older now. I've got a few joint ailments. Some golf courses I can't walk anymore. Like can't comfortably walk some weeks. It's hit and miss. So no, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think it's an essential part of the business. I prefer to walk when I can, but I also understand that's a revenue source for golf courses. And, a lot of people might not play if they didn't have the opportunity to use a cart. And I think, in trying to be as inclusive as possible, I think that's important. So
for sure.
All right, golf hats using short names in big block letters, which has been a trend that we see where all of a sudden it's like, whatever. It's
the P.
Or you see they'll just drop all the vowels from it, and I don't know. Let's see if all of a sudden instead of Metcalf they said calf, on it or whatever. You just see them all over the place now, all sorts of different things.
I don't care. It's a marketing thing. I mean, I probably, if I had a name that could be shortened to something. I mean, we put the little flag.
Yeah, but a logo's different. A logo's different.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, if I
half the letters on them, so
if I had to, if it was a slang thing to say, the stick as opposed to flagstick, I'd probably do it. So I don't care. Whatever. It's marketing.
Yeah, I just think it's a trend. I think it was fun to start with, but I think it's maybe overdone now.
Yeah, it is overdone, but
I'll just give it an over par. All right, 4 left here. Using a tee on a par 3.
Sure.
Like it?
It's a tee. It's a tee deck. I mean, it shouldn't matter if it's a par 3 or a par 4 or par 5. If you want to use a tee, use a tee.
Well, ball's on the ground. That's the difference between it and other type of tee deck. So depends whether.
Well, yeah, but a par 3 is a tee deck. It's still. Sure. I mean, if you're allowed to use it on a par 4 or par 5, then go ahead and use it on a par 3. I mean, the teeing off is exactly that. It's teeing off. It gives you a distinct advantage to have a perfect lie off the tee. Whereas once you're in the fairway, then you have to deal with whatever lie you get. So the teeing ground is always been that way. Even back when they used a little tiny bit of dirt to chip it up, you're still teeing it. So I don't have a problem with the tee.
Yeah, for me personally, it depends on the shot that you're trying to hit.
Yeah,
players have to understand that obviously it changes the strike, puts it up the face, it makes it a little bit more, I hit it better. But if a player wants to be consistent with what they do in the fairway, then you know what, I'd prefer if they with an iron.
Yeah.
I'd prefer if they just stuck with it. But in some situations, if it gives you the confidence or you need to do it, then go ahead. So I'm a little bit neutral on that. All right, old school yardage books. Obviously, there's a lot of GPS, a lot of different things these days. These are not as in fashion as they used to be. You can't go into many pro shops and all of a sudden pick up a yardage book. But is that an over par decision or an under par decision?
Getting up against time here to go through it detailed, but
just give it a quick one.
Yeah, I'm okay with the yardage books.
Yeah,
I don't like the green. I don't like the green reading part of it, but on some of the newer stuff. But
old school yardage,
just an old school yardage book. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. All right, we'll go one last one here. I'll eliminate the one that we've got in there. We use another week. Plastic tees.
I don't know. I mean, they're more durable, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I think they bend. You know, there's other options.
I
now.
like wooden
I mean,
tees. But I'm a traditionalist at heart. I don't like all the brush tees and the wedge
Again,
tees
that's
and
the
all
same
that
kind of
crap,
thing,
gimmicky
right? Yeah,
stuff.
some of
It's
the
a
plastic
tee is a
tees.
tee is
I
a
think it's
tee.
Mickey Mouse. Yeah,
Nice old wooden tee.
I use bamboo ones, which actually have some flexibility to them, but act more like a wooden tee. So, all right, thanks for that. That was fun. We'll
That was
try it
fun.
again.
Yeah.
We'll try it again another time with some other things.
All right. Yes, indeed. It's a good show.
Yeah, that was fun
again this week. Obviously, we want to thank everybody for listening, but thank you to our sponsors, Metcalf Golf Club, Castleview Golf Club, Kevin Heem Golf Center, our presenting sponsor this week, Adidas, introducing the Ultimate 365 Tour Heat Apparel and ZG23 Vent Footwear to help golfers handle the heat this season. The collection features a mix of silhouettes for men and women made with heat-ready and no-show technology to keep golfers cool and dry so they can perform their very best. Both the ZG23 Vent and Ultimate 365 Tour apparel are available now on adidas.ca, the Adidas app, and at selected retailers worldwide. Hopefully you have been enjoying what you're hearing and watching. Be sure to follow us across all social media networks, Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, and Facebook. Subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like us and click the notification bell to make sure that you never miss a single episode. Get over to flagstick.com for more amazing golf content delivered every single day. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. Until next week, I am Jeff Botter.
And I'm Scott McLeod.
Always remember, go for the stick.